I'm Grant, this is Dad Crafted, and this is a lumber storage cart. Alright, let's go. Alright, here we go, lumber cart. The problem we're trying to solve here is that giant mess in the corner. Every wood shop has it. It's the place where all your scraps go to die. So I started by planing down some boards. This step's totally unnecessary. If you don't own a planer, you can skip this. Most of these boards are covered up anyway, but just something I like to do to make them a little bit smoother. Next step is to rip down the 2x4s that form the base. You can do whatever size you want to fit your own space here, but I ended up choosing 3 foot by 6 foot. Then I just go ahead and pre-drill and drive everything home to screw the base together. Here I'm using some little 2x4 scraps that I ripped down, and these just provide a little extra room so that I can screw in caster wheels from the bottom of the base. Without these, I'd only be able to get 3 of the 4 screws into each caster wheel. Oh, and be sure to pre-drill. Or just adjust and use bigger pieces. To cut the top of the base to size, I'm using an offset block here. If you have a circular saw, I'd make yourself one of these, but basically it's the space that you need between the line that you want to cut and then your guide rail, which I'm using a scrap piece of 1/2 inch OSB, but that's the line that essentially that you want your circular saw to cut along, that is the right distance from the cut that you want to make. I'm sure that makes total sense. So here I'm using some, again, leftover scrap, 1/2 inch OSB, but I'm cutting a couple pieces that'll form the 2 sides that'll attach to the base, and those are mainly to just kind of hold some scrap pieces in so they don't go sliding off the edge of the base. And I previously forgot to add my extra little block pieces in the middle section, so adding those now and then putting 2 more casters in the middle. 6 casters just felt like it would give it a little added stability as opposed to just 4, 1 on each corner. So the base is good, so next step is to cut down the frame that'll form the top portion where boards will actually rest and kind of be stored. These sections are each 4 foot high, and then I pretty much just eyeballed a section here of where I decided to screw this in. It's not exactly centered in the middle. I wanted a little bit more space for my smaller scraps as opposed to the plywood section that would be in the back, but you can pretty much do whatever you want to here. And then it was more ripping down of scrap pieces. I'm pretty much just figuring this out as I go here and just kind of screwing things together where it seems to make sense. So eventually, hopefully this thing will look good at the end, but right now I didn't really know what I was doing.
So I've reached a point where I think I'm going to change stuff. I think I'm going to take this off and put it on the other side, and then I'm going to use 2x4s to act more as an angle, because this is where the plywood sheets will rest. I just don't know what the angle should be, but I think I want a consistent piece all the way down so that the plywood won't bow. Still figuring it out.
Rather than trying to figure out an angle that makes sense, I just usually hold a board up and then draw a line, then adjust my miter saw accordingly on the line. Seems to work better than me using a protractor. Is that what they're called? Same thing here for the top then. Draw a line where there's excess, go back to the saw, chop it off. Then I just use board 1 over top of board 2 to draw my lines and then make my cuts. And I never seem to be able to get through one of these projects without using a pocket hole jig. Call me a cheater, whatever, they're handy. Starting to look like an actual cart. Then after this, it's pretty much just grabbing extra scrap pieces, cutting them down to size, and then screwing them in where there's gaps. And again, this is just to prevent boards from kind of sliding out from these little mini slots that we've made. I threw in one extra board here in the middle just so I could slide some medium-sized boards straight up and down. And then I started filling it up, but got interrupted by a dance-off.
So it's all done. It fits most of the scrap that I had. The rest of it, burn pile. I made this thing in about an afternoon, 3-4 hours give or take. Mostly from scrap wood. I had to buy a couple extra 2x4s because I didn't have on hand, but 2x4s, some scrap 1/2-inch OSB board, wood screws. That's about it, really. This was thrown together on a whim, kind of inspired by I Like to Make Stuff or April Wilkerson's videos. But really, you can kind of tweak a design to make it your own and get something done pretty quickly and serve a purpose in the shop and not have a giant mess in the corner like I used to have. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. See you next time. What? Do you like it? That's all you got?